We're live.
Good morning. We'll call our meeting to order. This is the October meeting of the Economic Growth and Development Committee. Our first action is seeking approval of our September 26th meeting minutes. If someone would like to make a motion to bring that to the floor. First by Mr. Wild, the second by Mr. Stroh. Any suggested edits, changes, questions about the minutes? I'll call the question. All in favor of approving last meeting minutes as they are written now, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carries unanimously. We're going to go through the workforce development agenda quickly. Liza's out west at a conference. Oh, I'm sorry, privilege of the floor. If anybody from the public wants to make a comment, any non-committee supervisor? Seeing none, we'll move into workforce development. Thank you. Hoping to do A and then separately through D by themselves if possible. Our county administrator is here to provide any rationale or questions, answers for the resolutions on Liza's behalf. A is a resolution request to ratify the federal community project grant application from 2021. John, do you want to say anything about that?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Basically, it says right on there was a short timeline. So in discussion with me and the committee chair and the chair of the Board of Supervisors, we told the departments they could apply without committee approval so that they can meet the deadlines for the grants. And workforce development did exactly that. This goes all the way back to May 21. So we're just correcting this now to make sure the funds were received and workforce development has been using them appropriately. So we just want to change this resolution to amend it so that the budget can receive the funds in 2023.
Somebody like to make a motion to bring this to the floor? The first by Mr. Stroh and a second by Mr. Mayday. Any questions about this request? I'll call the question. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries unanimously. And then B through D are creating new contracts with 3 different entities. And do you want to say anything about those, John? I think we could bundle them if somebody making the motion would like to do that.
Yeah, these are, yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. These are all federal grants received by workforce development. This is just to apply these against the contracts that you see. One with the Southern Adirondack Child Care Network, another one with Bright Side Up to for startup programs that they have in workforce development. And then one with Saratoga County Workforce Development that we partner with. So it's Saratoga, us in Washington partner.
Mr. Mayday is going to make a motion to bring all 3 to the floor, B, C, and D. John. Thank you. And Mr. Wild on the second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Are there any restrictions?
Can somebody make a second to bring it to the floor for questions?
I'll second it also.
Mr. Wild, thank you. Go ahead.
I'm just curious, are there any restrictions related to these grants that we need to be concerned about?
I'm
Any
sorry.
restrictions on these grants that we need to be concerned about?
No, I don't believe so.
Any other questions? I'll call the question. All in favor of creating new contracts with these 3 different requests, 3 different entities, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that carries unanimously. Okay, we'll move into our planning department, community development department's agenda. We have 1 resolution request and then some discussion items, and we have a presentation as well. The resolution request is to amend the budget to reflect OCTAC's funding for $20,000 contract with Cliff and Redfield Interactive. You want to discuss that?
Sure. This was awarded earlier this year, I think in January or February by maybe even late last year. And this, we just didn't complete the administrative task of moving it from occupancy tax into our budget. So that's all this is.
Somebody like to make a motion to bring this resolution request to the floor? First by Mr. Mayday and a second by Ms. Turner. Any discussion? Mr. Wild.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Grant, any grants associated with this instead of getting it out of OCTACs?
No, I don't think this particular, so this is a very tourism focused project. And I'm not aware of any grant opportunities that would achieve what we're doing with this money.
So we have also a recreation kind of grant that we got, right, for our study.
Yeah, we're on the tail end of approximately $84,000 project. We used 80 or 42K from Empire State Development for the outdoor recreation economy strategic plan.
So that money's already been burned up.
Yeah,
then.
yeah, that's all under contract.
Okay.
Um,
Thank you,
and-
Chair.
And I would say the other thing, the nice part about the occupancy tax for a project like this is that the like $20,000. Oftentimes, the amount of energy and resource that we put to like targeting, applying for, and administering a grant that small can be challenging at the county level. It's not to say that we won't do it, but occupancy tax can be a little people. There's less. The advantageous part for us at the county is like if it does align with a lot of our county needs and the committee's okay with it, of course, it's like we don't need to necessarily spend 40 hours going after the funding and then another 40 hours administering the grant, which could be nice.
Just one more, if you don't mind, Mr. Chair. So we do have other grants that are around. Is there any extra money kicking around that we might apply to this? Because 20 grand on OCTAX, if you saw the meetings yesterday, we are, our requests are much more than what we have available.
So I just wanted to clarify, this was awarded already back in last year. This is solely what we're doing right now is just transferring already awarded money from the occupancy tax account in the treasurer's office into the planning department budget.
This
But
was
it was
already,
it's already been through the occupancy tax committee. It was already approved. There's already a resolution awarding the money for this project, which has been going on for 3 years. And yeah, we just did not complete at the time the administrative task of moving the money in the budget from one location to another.
so we could have gotten out of 2023 funds, but now we have to take it out of 24 funds. Right, because was it on reserve? Was this already allocated out of?
It's already allocated as far as the
Well,
treasurer's department. I mean, as far as tourism is concerned, it has already come out of the occupancy tax budget in tourism. I believe it's just sitting in limbo. I'm not 100% sure about how the accounting works.
Can I ask you, was it in 2020, it was awarded in 2023?
I believe so, yeah.
I think that, I don't know.
But of course, we have to do this right away.
Any other questions? Alright, I'll call the question. All in favor of amending the budget to reflect this OCTAX funding, please say aye. Any opposed?
Yes.
One opposed from Mr. Wyatt. And that passes. All right. Ethan, we have a presentation from someone from ACNA.
Yes.
You want to do that first or last or?
Yeah, Elizabeth is here from ANCA. She we're here for a presentation and overview of the organization, what they can do for us and what they already do with us.
Excellent, thank you. Should I be at the podium?
Yes,
Sure, yeah.
You might have to speak up on that microphone and kind of bring it closer.
Calling me short. so-
Or you could sit at the table. If you like, you could sit at the table.
Good morning, my name is Elizabeth Cooper, and I have the privilege of serving as the Executive Director of ANCA, the Adirondack North Country Association. For more than 70 years, we have been working to grow and strengthen the economy of the North Country region in partnership with business owners, with economic and community development organizations, and local leaders like yourselves. Thank you to Chairman Gaiety for inviting me here to speak today, to Amanda Allen and her team for arranging, and to Ethan and Sarah for chatting with me about the great work that you are doing across Warren County to build economic strength and resilience. Today, I'm going to share a bit about what we are doing at ANCA and offer our expertise to support your work. For those of you who are unfamiliar with ANCA, we are a nonprofit organization based out of Saranac Lake, serving 14 counties in the Adirondack North Country region, from Oswego over to Washington and straight up to Canada. We are focused on ensuring that all in our region have access to economic opportunities to live and thrive in this region. Our particular focuses are on small business and entrepreneurs, local food systems, clean energy, and welcoming and belonging through our newest program area, the Adirondack Diversity Initiative. ANCA could not do our work across the region without our members. We are so grateful to count Warren County as one of 8 counties who have joined ANCA as a member. Acknowledging the enormous pressure that you are all under to present a balanced, responsible county budget, we have completed our funding request, inviting Warren County to renew membership for 2025 at the $5,000 level. This is an increase from past years, but these investments are directly supporting our work to support you to achieve positive outcomes for your business community. Here are some of the ways that we are working to that end, and a few thoughts about how our work aligns with your priorities here in Warren County. At ANCA, our approach is to serve as a regional link between organizations, resources, technical assistance to ensure that the tools exist for all to participate in our regional economy. As I said before, our program areas are small business, local food systems, clean energy, and welcoming and belonging. Here's what we're up to in each of these areas and some ideas of how we can grow our partnerships with you to support your residents and communities. Our small business team is focused on providing navigation and services to ensure our region's entrepreneurs have the tools needed to meet their goals. Our signature program is CBIT, the Center for Businesses in Transitions, working to help current owners run strong businesses today while planning for future transition to new ownership. Most of our small businesses across this region are approaching or at retirement age. And so if we don't work to transition these businesses to new ownership, we're going to lose them. So this work is especially critical to our communities. We have supported more than 60 successful business transitions over the past 5 years, including Silver Bay General Store in the town of Hague. The CBIT model relies on local chambers of commerce and economic development organization to do the boots on the ground support of businesses in these communities. We provide the tools, and organizations like the Ticonderoga Area Chamber of Commerce provide personalized service. And they are doing so in northern Warren County. But I'm pleased to share that our efforts to grow in Warren County are coming to fruition, as just this year we've welcomed Warren County EDC to CBIT trainings. We so welcome this partnership and others in the county so that we can better serve Warren County. Ethan shared with us Warren County's outdoor recreational economic strategic plan and invited me to a meeting this past Monday to discuss further. We look forward to seeing how we can help you meet those strategies through CBIT and our general business support. Our local food systems team currently has 2 focuses: strengthening food businesses and growing composting and organics recycling across the region, both designed to improve environmental outcomes and lower costs and improve efficiencies for farms, producers, and sellers. We have connected Ethan to Jen Perry, who oversees Compost for Good, to grow partnerships in the county, and who currently partners with Warren County Solid Waste. We have some ideas for how to bring resources, including assistance on grants and low-interest financing to Warren County's food community, including maple and craft beverage producers. Next, our clean energy team is primarily working through DEC and NYSERDA to implement energy efficiencies and climate programs for communities across the North Country region. Unfortunately, clean energy programs in New York are highly siloed to the REDC regions. But we know that Warren County, especially the northern part of the county, has perhaps more in common with the North Country than the Capital Region. We've connected our team with you to see if there are ways that we can support stronger connections with state designated energy advocates to better serve the counties where we are able. This especially includes small business clean energy support to receive energy efficiency and renewable energy incentives through REAP, Rural Energy for America program, which we are absolutely able to help Warren County businesses with. Finally, welcoming and belonging. Our entire team is invested in ensuring that our region is welcoming to all, whether you live here, hope to live here, or are just visiting. Soon we are launching a small business welcoming and belonging micro-credential, which has the real potential to help business owners better draw a broader market of visitors and retain staff. We will make sure that we connect stakeholders in Warren County to share this opportunity with small businesses widely. Additionally, our community policing initiative is supporting state, local, corrections officers, and forest rangers with a widely popular training to better engage with diverse residents and visitors. Officers from Warren County Sheriff's Department are among those who engaged in this free training. We've had some departments run through the whole training and have asked for more. I would be delighted to connect you with our team to learn more about this growing program in Warren County. Taken together, ANCA is well prepared to support some of your key county initiatives, including your outdoor recreational economy plan, efforts underway in your hamlets, villages, and cities to support small business stability, the vitality of your craft and beverage markets, and others. We welcome opportunities to do so and look forward to continuing the conversation, and your membership funding supports these efforts. Again, I cannot thank you enough for inviting me here today and for Warren County's long-standing ANCA membership. We recognize there is room to grow this partnership, and I think we have some good places to start. We also hope to engage you as we spend the next 9 months working on our new strategic plan to guide us to our 75th birthday in 2029. We will share opportunities for you to let us know how we can better partner here in Warren County. Please be in touch with me or members of my staff at any time to let us know how we can better partner and support you and the great places and people of Warren County. I welcome any questions you might have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions? Say that after Warren County, Saranac Lake is my favorite place on earth. The new rail trail up there is amazing.
It's a beautiful place to live. That is true.
If I could just make a comment, yeah, we're really happy to talk to Elizabeth, in the context of the outdoor recreation economy strategic plan. This has been our department's effort to, understand how to increase the economic impact of these industries. In part of the analysis that our consultants did, they found that we have 161 different businesses across Warren County involved in outdoor recreation. And we do think that ANCA's business in transition program could be really helpful for some of these small businesses, because a lot of these 161 outdoor recreation industry type things are, they're owned by entrepreneurs. Somebody started the business, been running the business, and I think you all can think about examples of that across the county. And they may not have some of the capacity or training to turn their business to something marketable. And, as we talk with Liza and Jim about these topics of economic development, it's really about retention, focus on retention too, even before expansion. So if this is a program that we can really use, very excited about it.
Happy to support you there.
Yeah.
And right now the county provides $3,000 in funding a year to the association.
That is correct.
Any other questions?
Hey, just a comment, and Elizabeth, thank you. I've been watching your programs on business transition for a couple of years now, not actively, but from afar. And I think it's really important. So what are your challenges in terms of making this happen?
So a couple things. We've focused for 5 years now on CBIT. And I think that we know many of the things that our businesses that exist need. They need, and we help them develop a sales sheet. Think of maybe a coffee shop. And it is not, when the coffee shop is not busy, that somebody approaches them and says, gee, I really like what you have here. I want to buy the business. It is when it's the most busiest and the owner does not have time to talk to them. They've got 30 drinks due and somebody approaches you and says, I want to buy it. Have a sales sheet available. It will list out some of the key parts of your business. Maybe you have commercial septic, whatever that is, and the price. And just hand them the sheet and continue on with your day and you can connect later. That has become critical and we teach them how to do that. Also valuation. That is a really hard concept for our businesses. How do I go about valuing my business? And again, we teach that. Though we have focused again for 5 years on the existing business. And I think we can now, and we are beginning to move our focus away from that because we've sort of understand what they need and can provide it. We are now looking at, in a deep way, the entrepreneur who may want to purchase that business. Often what we have found is it is an existing manager or other employee that wishes to purchase that business. There's several cases of that. We find that maybe an extended member of the family wishes to purchase that business. But we are also now getting, in the case of Silver Bay General Store, somebody who knew the business, who had their own career, who was located, down in the metropolitan New York area and wants a second career. And we're bringing them, or they're coming here and we're hoping they stay and purchase these businesses. This is the area we are now beginning to focus on. And what is glaring with the first thing that we look at, it's just so glaring. They lack access to capital. That lack of access to capital is hindering. It's not, a lot of people say, well, there aren't entrepreneurs who wish to buy these businesses. That is not true. The truth of the matter is they exist, they want to buy these businesses. They lack the access to capital. And we are just beginning to put together a sheet of paper that lists, not banks, lists different types of lenders that will lend to entrepreneurs in our region. We've never done this deep dive before. We do have one CDFI in the area, but let's take the example of a farm. Banks do not want to lend to farms generally, and it makes sense. They're exceedingly risky. And when they need their money is at that point in the yearly cycle when they have no money. In the winter, when the harvest, that's when they're flush with money. They don't need money then. They need it in the spring. They've spent their money all winter long. Now they need to put seeds in the ground. They need the money then. There isn't a bank that's going to give them that money. AEDC won't either. They just don't happen to lend to farmers. However, there is a CDFI that will lend to farmers in our area. And we didn't know about them until we started looking. We are developing these types of relationships, maybe more regional. This particular CDFI that I'm talking about farmers, is based out of Virginia. We had no thought to look all that way to Virginia, but they do lend in New York State. They have an employee in Brooklyn. And by the way, they'll lend to the North Country too, and have started doing so. So right now our focus is providing that access to capital for our entrepreneurs. That was a very long-winded question or answer. I hope I answered your question.
Okay, just one more.
Yep.
Connected with SUNY Adirondack because they have a startup 80K program that's really for entrepreneurs, as well as might be beneficial to the people that are trying to develop their sales sheet in more detail.
We have limitedly connected with SUNY Adirondack. But that is a good point. And yes, we'll make a stronger connection there. As part of the CBIT program, we have what we call FAM tours, familiarization tours. We will take groups of people around to a region, a part of our region that has businesses for sale has a CBIT liaison, somebody that works with us to transition those businesses, and has a successful business transition. And we will bring these groups to see businesses that are available, a business that has transitioned, and to a liaison, so they see that the work and support that our liaisons do. We do that a lot with schools. We do that with Ithaca, for example, Ithaca College. We do that with Syracuse University. We do that with Clarkson. We do that, and yes, we've reached out to Adirondack for that only specific purpose. But you're right, we need to grow that.
Thank you.
Supervisor Crusito.
Thank you. Yeah, I gotta believe financing has to be one of the biggest challenges. Do you have any type of relationship with SBA funding?
Yes,
You do?
yes, we do.
Okay.
We do,
Is it
We-
Pursue? Is it,
yes,
It is.
Pursuit is, you remember I said we're putting together a list? Pursuit is
It's on
directly
there.
on there.
yeah,
Yep.
good.
Mhm.
It does help a lot. Yeah, it's a lengthy process, but.
It is.
Yeah.
And sometimes the dollar amounts that our businesses are asking for are lower than their threshold. So sometimes our businesses need less money for whatever it is they need to do, their expansion.
It is lower than SBA's thresholds, but threshold's 5 million.
Correct.
Yeah.
So sometimes, we need a $100,000 loan for whatever reason. So it's below that threshold.
Yeah. Good.
Um,
Very good.
But there are other lenders too.
Yeah.
And yes, we will grow that. We are growing that relationship.
You also know Warren County has a local development corporation. that
Yeah, I was
does
gonna
this Also,
Yes.
We would welcome somebody looking to buy a general store and looking for capital.
Understood.
Any other questions?
and a procedural one, it's not on the agenda for action, but I just want to make sure that my comment is yes, if we decide to have a resolution in the future to do this.
To increase the funding from 3,000 to 5,000? Good. All right, thank you. The clerk of the board informed me that the OCTAX award was made in 2024, so no reason to look into 2023. All right, thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
all this way, yeah.
Pleasure to do it. Thank you.
Ethan, you want to touch on grants?
Yeah, so, thank you. So last month we had a sort of a brief conversation about what grant opportunities are out there, and what we're currently going after. And I just wanted to provide a little more detail, follow up on some of the questions. One was, how much funding we need to be going after these grants on an annual basis. So we took a deep dive to the last decade of applications. We found that it's a bit of a mixed bag. Depending on the applicant, whether it's going to be a county project or something that we do on behalf of municipalities, it's ranged on, between $20,000 and $500,000. The $500,000 match, though, has traditionally been cobbled together through things like local share, municipal contributions. I think everyone is familiar with the first Wilderness Heritage Corridor. And that was a multi-municipal initiative that relied on a lot of collaboration. So we don't have a set number that we need for a match on an annual basis. I think the takeaway on the analysis of our historic asks has just been that we'd like to keep this committee informed, and have you at least ready to deliberate providing matching funds for grants as they arise, so that when we do ask for some of these matching funds, it doesn't come as a surprise, and you can understand where the ask is coming from and how it aligns with some of our other planning efforts and initiatives that are currently ongoing. So that was sort of the takeaway on historic matching funds.
So, Mr. Chairman, a comment, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please.
With our IT department, we have a reserve for future things we need in IT. Could we do something like that in the planning department that starts to build up a fund? So if we get a real opportunity when the budget's tight, like it is now, wherever the budget officer is, right? It would give us the ability to say, yes, we have some funds to be able to take advantage of this money that will benefit the county. So it's just a comment, a thought. I'm not sure if we can do that, and you know, a lot of it's gonna depend on the budget officer this year in terms of what we can pull off, but I think that would be something that would be beneficial to us. Always struggling to where the match is gonna come from.
How would you see that? Would you, an injection of 50,000 a year, something like that, just to get started, not too big, not too small?
All right, you know, whatever we can get, right? 100,000,
Now, Ethan, you've
but
talked
I
about
don't
that.
know, right? Because
We've talked about that idea before.
We talked about the idea and, I came prepared. I thought about, some of our current initiatives, some of the grants that we've been asking for lately. And it all starts with a fairly small ask, right? For example, this fish hatchery project that we just talked about last month, we submitted the application. That started with a $11,000 request from the ARPA committee to submit an application, prepare an application for Northern Borders Regional Commission funding. So that fairly small ask resulted in, we hired a landscape architect that worked very closely with DPW in our office, and we created this master plan. We very much targeted it towards this funding source that we know about, and it put us in a position $900,000 with a fairly modest municipal ask, so an 80% federal share. But we would not have been in a position to ask for that funding, that initial seed money. The same thing goes for this organics management plan. Our department put together the work plan, we put together the application, we identified this opportunity to develop an organics management plan for the D Climate Smart Communities program. And that was fairly modest. I think that project overall was around, $50,000 or $60,000 project. We leveraged local in-kind match for that. But having that funding available to contribute to the planning process and going through that whole thing put us in a position where now we can confidently say, hey, we actually want to go after this pilot program to set up the municipal thing. And that queued us up for a larger ask for this pilot program with DPW and solid waste. And that's a much larger application. And the same thing goes with this multi-use trail modernization connectivity study. We got a $200,000 project overall. $160,000 of this project came from federal sources. The other $40,000 came from municipal allocations and then some occupancy tax. By going through this deliberative planning process, we're now in a position where we can ask for implementation dollars through the AGFTC on a very favorable 80% AGFTC, or Metropolitan Planning Organization, provides 80% match and only 20% local match requirement. So we're able to implement that plan, make these pretty strategic asks, but it was all contingent upon us having that initial money to help support the planning and then going through that planning process. So it's really about, I guess if it's like thinking about resources, it's allowing us to have the resources to go and develop these projects, in which we're doing right now. Like we're currently staffed, we've got 4 trained, experienced planners on staff. And I think we're really starting to hit our stride with that. So, I mean, those are 3 examples right there of, how we get to these strategic asks.
it's just, follow up. It's always a challenge. You guys can bring in $1 million a year to the county, right, with grant money. But it's always a struggle, where's the money gonna come from every time you guys ask? And, maybe we try to ask to refer this to budget or finance and say, what can we do about this?
I'd say
Relieve
more
some
more
of
than
the-
$1 million.
Some of the stress.
And what I would like to do is make this easier for everyone in a position of, decision-making power, whether it's this committee or the full board, is, participating in the comprehensive planning process for the county. We use that as what we hope will be some sort of articulation of overall county goals. We have 7 goals identified. We have some objectives and then priority actions following on each one of those goals. And we hope that through all the public engagement that we've done, through the analysis, through the stakeholder outreach, and hopefully your review, which we're going to be getting to, that we'll have somewhat of a mandate, at least some consensus from the board, that if we're gonna be going for funding requests or grant applications, we want to make it clear that it aligns with this comprehensive plan, so that we're not just asking for with seemingly random things that came up because there was an opportunity. We want to be able to point to this group and say, listen, we went through this process for a reason. It aligns with this plan. Hopefully it would make the decision-making process easier for people when it comes to deciding whether or not to provide matching funds.
So just one more right now. Okay, but are you in favor of doing a reserve for this or?
Oh, well, listen, I'm sensitive to the fact that, you know, we're always looking for, we're in budget season right now, so I'm not in a position to say, you know, put this money in a pot, but in a perfect world, yes, we would always have money to go after grant applications, provide matching funds. But I can't make a decision, on whether or not that competes with other county priorities right now, so.
Supervisor Cressida.
Thank you. I might be mistaken. I haven't looked at it in a while, but in your 2025 budget, was there a line item funded from occupancy tax?
Yeah, we use
And what's that-
approximately $20,000 was gonna be from occupancy tax to support things that generally come. We've been using to support like first wilderness type projects.
Was that, okay, it was just 20,000? I thought that was it.
It was 50,000 total. 30 of that was gonna be earmarked for some routine GIS department. Like promotional materials that we've done for letterboxing, a lot of pretty serious tourism initiatives that have a lot
Okay.
of traction. And then I think the other $20,000 would be supporting project development that align with tourism initiatives.
Okay, no, that was not there in 2024. That's a new line
No,
item for
no.
2025.
And really what it tries to do is legitimize some of the asks that we've done on an ad hoc basis. And, you know, I think over the past 5 years, Sarah has really depended on a lot of occupancy tax money and spent a lot of time in front of the committee asking for projects that, whether it be stories from open space, letterboxing, or at least other initiatives associated with
Now will be there.
historical cultural tourism.
Thank you.
Just one more,
Supervisor
just
Wild.
curious whether the committee would think it would be a good idea to create some kind of reserve to help with this.
I thought that's
Financial
what
piece.
this might have been, you know, that line item from Octax, I thought might have been more of a reserve, but maybe not.
Just curious whether the committee would like to.
I
forward
think
something
it's a
like that.
very good idea. You and I talked about it after a comp plan meeting a couple months ago. I just don't know. I mean, we always say, where's the money gonna come from?
How about this?
Would we save money in the long run by doing that? I don't know. I think we'd save time and therefore money. But
I just think it reduces the stress on whenever there's an ask that's unfunded.
I will say that in the comprehensive plan, we talk about this. We talk about this from the perspective of having a capital plan for county infrastructure, and funding it. I know this is something that's not a new idea. A lot of other municipalities do it, and our counties talked about it. But we do talk about that in the comprehensive plan. So maybe after we have an opportunity to review some of the draft language in there, the board deliberates the entire plan. Adopt the plan and then think about the details of that initiative, because what you're saying, that sentiment is captured in the comprehensive plan. So there are recommendations that are in line with what you're saying.
So it says yes, I say yes, anybody else?
Yeah, I
That's a
mean, it
good idea.
streamlines it, yeah.
The budget officer have any comments on this?
what do you say?
Say,
Sure, it's a great idea. Got a railroad to take care of, you got garbage costs, and you want 20%, you got health insurance that increases all the time, you got salaries that increase. That's the majority of the budget is salaries. It's more money.
I mean, if what we could do, how about this, if we want to develop the idea further, we could spend some time looking at what that looks like. Maybe something that could be workshopped a little bit.
You don't have to push, it's all about the budget. You know, that's the whole purpose of bringing up this conversation, so maybe get with the budget officer and see what he thinks and go from there.
County administrator?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ty, I believe since we're like 1 week away from closing this year's budget for 2025, I'd recommend that we have discussions over the coming year and maybe think about it for a 2026 budget rather than trying to put anything this too late. Thank you.
Get our finances straight this year. We have more next year.
Ethan, we got about 15 minutes. Do you have any, or Sarah, any project updates, or is that just a placeholder?
I mean, I would say the primary project update right now, is gonna be, we're gonna be continuing to engage with supervisors on small group settings to talk about the comprehensive plan, before it goes to the full public engagement, later on month of November. So expect more calls from us. I've had an opportunity to meet with a few of you one-on-one, but we'll continue to do that outreach. Then also,
Are you gonna commingle broadband into those conversations? Is that what we were emailing about the other? day?
we can, there's, actually, that was gonna be on the next month's agenda. We thought about having an update. I think in June, we had a board workshop. We brought in EDC, our department, and Lake Champlain, Lake George Regional Planning Board, to talk about broadband. If this committee is interested, we could re-invite that group back together and talk about, provide a brief update on broadband. There's a lot of moving parts and we've got a lot of different players in it, and if you'd like, we can do a 10-minute presentation then.
Yeah, I've asked Jim Siplin to come in either November or December, one or the other at a minimum, and so we could be combined with that.
And then there's a month we don't have committee meetings, is that right?
After the December board. meeting. We won't have any.
So November is our last one of the year.
We'll try to schedule for November then.
Yep.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just curious, how much time will we have to review and get a sense of what's happening with the comprehensive plan
Ahead of next
ahead
November's
of
committee.
some kind of,
Yeah.
Board discussion?
Oh, yeah, it's a great question. So right now, we work pretty intensely with the project advisory group, consultant team, and internally with like department heads. So we have a overall set of 7 draft goals, objectives, and then priority actions. That is going to be the basis of a draft plan that the consultants are currently working on. Our schedule is to be communicating with supervisors over the next few weeks to set up times to sit down and talk about the actual plan, answer any questions you might have before it goes for a public workshop. There's going to be one up the town Chester, then one down at SUNY Adirondack. So between the board, the board of supervisors feedback, the public workshop sessions, after that, take that information, see if we got things right or wrong, what needs to be corrected. The consultants will update the plan. And then once that is in good shape of that last round of engagement, then we can start the formal adoption process where we go in front of this committee, then the board of supervisors. And the idea of having the plan pretty well fleshed out in advance of like this next public engagement session is to engage in a more productive dialogue with residents so that, oftentimes at a board supervisor meeting, someone comes in at the last minute when we're up to a yay or nay vote, and they might have some really legitimate and interesting comments, but there's just less time to integrate those comments into the document. So we really hope to have more productive conversations at these workshops where it's a facilitated environment, and we'll have the time and budget to make updates to the plan in advance of going to a formal adoption.
Your project plan must have some dates associated with when these are gonna happen? Is it
Yeah,
gonna be before the end of the year?
Yes, so I think it's the 18th is in Chester. I don't want to misspeak on this one.
18th or
It's on our project
21st?
website.
The project website has the dates of those 2 workshops. It also, draft goals, objectives and action items are also on the website. So if you want to take a look at those ahead of the individual meetings with Ethan, those are available on the website. And I believe it's the 18th.
Yeah, so Monday, November 18th at 6 p.m. We're booked at SUNY Adirondack, Northwest Bay Conference Center. And Chestertown Hall, Thursday, November 21st at 6 p.m.
Now we convene again as a committee on or around November 20th, right between those. And And Mr. Wild was asking how much time we might be afforded to review materials before that meeting, if you made a comp plan presentation at the next committee meeting.
Yeah, in advance of, I think it's gonna depend on the nature of the comments that we get from the public and supervisors in the time leading up to those sessions. Yeah, so I mean, who knows, with like, you might have a chance to read this document and say, oh my goodness, you guys totally missed it, or the public might say, oh my goodness, you guys really gotta think about this differently. And we built it into our project that we might have to spend a little bit of time making revisions.
Can we get a draft 3 or 4 days before the meetings happen on the 18th and the 21st?
Yeah, I think what we can do is share the materials of the workshop materials with you to make sure that, you know, the stuff that is being presented to the public is also something that you've seen as an elected official, understand. But we'll make sure that when we have conversations about the goals, objectives, and priority action recommendations that are posted on our website right now very prominently, the materials will be in line with that as well. So the whole idea is to not have surprises for anyone during this process. And I'm more than happy to sit down, spend time, talk about it, answer any questions about it.
They'll give us some paperwork, so the answer is
Yeah.
yes.
Oh,
you'll give
yes,
us the paperwork,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
And we could debrief from the SUNY event.
yeah, there will be feedback from that we have to incorporate.
What other comments do we have? Questions? Pizza at the SUNY event?
I think we're gonna have to.
Chateaubriand. Any privilege of the floor of public comment? I will seek a motion to adjourn. Motion was made by Supervisor Bell with a second from Supervisor Turner. All in favor of adjourning? Aye.